On June 9, 2013, tens of thousands of Orthodox Jews assembled on the streets of New York City to protest against the existence of the State of Israel, where a huge platform had been set up for several hundred rabbis and leaders of communities. In front of the platform were seated hundreds of prominent and esteemed people, while the rest of the square was overcrowded with tens of thousands of participants. The first speaker began by expressing the pain of Orthodox Jews of the past decades since the establishment of the Zionist state, the State of Israel. The Zionists, ever since their movement began, have tried to trap the Orthodox Jews with various tricks. But Orthodox Jews have endured all hardships, starvation to the point of death, and etc., and put their lives on the line and have never given in. Great anguish was expressed over the fact that the Zionists persecute Orthodox Jews in the Holy Land to a terrifying degree, which make their existence in the Holy Land nearly impossible. The climax of the demonstration was the fiery speeches which gave moral strength to the heroes in the Holy Land, who are determined not to yield under persecution and threats of the Zionists.
Zionism is only around 100 years old. It is the transformation from religion to nationalism, to materialism, created by non-religious Jews who hated the religion. The reason they used the name Israel, the Star of David, hijacking, stealing the identity of Judaism and the Jewish people, is in order to get a legitimacy for their existence, that people should say, oh, it's God given to them, and that they should put fear and intimidate people from speaking up against their actions because they'll call them anti-Semitic. Yeah. There couldn't be anything further from the truth. Jews demonstrate, and I think it's important to see, Jews demonstrate and they're getting constantly, till today, they made demonstrations and they're getting beaten by the Zionist police.
We cannot underestimate the power of the Rothschilds. Not only are they in money, in gold mining in South Africa, they've got all kind of corporations.
What is your view of the Freemasonry and the Illuminati? How do they fit into the picture?
Well, the Illuminati are the Rothschilds. You look at the Knesset and the Supreme Court building. These two buildings in Israel were built by the Rothschilds. Now, the Supreme Court building has Illuminati symbols all over the place.
What is the role of the non-Jews in the elites? I mean.
What is the role? Okay, you have your Gentiles called the Rockefellers. Now they are tied in intimately with the Rothschilds. Rockefellers and the Rothschilds work very closely together, and this began in the late 1800s when Rockefeller had Standard Oil. And the Rothschilds were just getting into the oil business in the Caucasus with Baku oil, and they were competitors. But then Rothschild, who's the conniver, he found a way to unite with the Rockefellers. So they were no longer competitors. So this is when the Rockefeller-Rothschild connection began, in the late 1800s. And it was all about oil, and it was all about big international worldwide money. So you have these two Gentile. You have the Gentile Rockefeller and you have the Jew Rothschilds working together for money. So wherever you see Gentiles hooked in with the Jews, it's all about money. J.P. Morgan, he works also very closely with the Rothschilds and in their bank. And you see the Federal Reserve is funding his takeover of this bank that he just bought. I forget the name of it. But they work together.
All the Hollywood stars that seem to have a piece of the action, how do they fit in? Do you have a theory about that?
Well, anybody in Hollywood is owned by Jews. Jews run Hollywood. Everyone knows that. So Oprah's beholden to Jews. So if you want to get ahead in as a movie star or a television figure, you've got to kowtow to the Jews. It's the same with a politician.
I want you to be perfectly clear. I mean, I'm born Jewish, and I know my family's Jewish, and they don't know anything about this scheme, about the New World Order. They think people who talk about it are crazy. And I think that's true of what percentage of Jews are aware of this agenda. I mean, there may be this collective guilt for Christ, but is there this collective guilt for this agenda? Wouldn't you say it's only insofar as they support the agenda?
I'll tell you what every Jew does know. Every Jew knows that the Jews run the media. We all know it. I knew it growing up. We all know that Jews run Hollywood. And before I became a Christian, I used to tell my friends, hey, you want to get the biased propaganda? Go to a movie.
The Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s. Reuters then bought the Associated Press, which selects and delivers the same news stories to the entire world, day after day. They have controlling interest in 3 major television networks and easily avoid media attention since they own it. Until recently, they owned and operated England's Royal Mint and continue to be the gold agent for the Bank of England, which they also direct. They also fix the world price of gold on a daily basis and profit from its ups and downs. Over the centuries, the Rothschilds have amassed trillions of dollars worth of gold bullion in their subterranean vaults and have cornered the world's gold supply. They own controlling interest in the world's largest oil company, Royal Dutch Shell. They operate phony charities and offshore banking services where the wealth of the black nobility in the Vatican is hidden in secret accounts at Rothschild Swiss banks, trusts, and holding companies. Although Evelyn Rothschild looks like a harmless gray-haired old man, make no mistake about it, Rothschild and his ancestors have handpicked presidents, crashed stock markets, bankrupted nations, orchestrated wars, and sponsored the mass murder and impoverishment of millions. With British Prime Minister Lloyd George up against a wall, Lionel Rothschild and the Jewish Zionists offered the British a deal they couldn't refuse. "We'll bring the United States into the war as your ally and win the war for you," they said, "if you'll promise us Palestine." In April of 1917, President Wilson got the green light and declared war on Germany. In return, the British government wrote the famous Balfour Declaration and addressed it to none other than Lord Lionel Rothschild. The declaration promised Palestine and Israel to the Rothschild Zionists.
In 1817, Lord Allenby conquered the Holy Land, and the Jews were promised a national home in Palestine by the Earl of Balfour, a policy endorsed by Woodrow Wilson and by the League of Nations, which made Palestine a British mandate.
That is something that the people in the United States have never been told. They never knew why we went into World War I. The Balfour Declaration was merely Great Britain's promise to pay the Zionists what they had agreed upon as a consideration for getting the United States into the war. When the war was ended, and the Germans went to Paris, to the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, when they were cutting up Germany and parceling out Europe to all these nations that claimed a right to a certain part of European territory, the Jews said, how about Palestine for us? And they produced, for the first time, to the knowledge of Germans, this Balfour Declaration. So the Germans, for the first time, realized, oh, that was the game. That's why the United States came into the war. And the Germans, for the first time, realized that they were defeated. They suffered this terrific reparations that was slapped onto them because the Zionists wanted Palestine. And they were determined to get it at any cost. When the Germans realized this, they naturally resented it. Up to that time, the Jews had never been better off in any country in the world than they had been in Germany. The Jews were doing very well in Germany. No question about that. Now, the Germans felt, well, that was quite a sellout. We've been so nice to them, and from 1905 on, when the first communist revolution in Russia failed, and the Jews had to scramble out of Russia, they all went to Germany, and Germany gave them refuge, and they were treated very nicely. And here, they sold Germany down the river for no reason at all, other than they wanted Palestine as a so-called Jewish common.
New World Order, Mr. Rothschild?
What?
New World Order? Depopulation?
Oh, listen, who are you...
Genocide?
Who are you televising for?
Rockefellers, come back. We don't want your new world order, you know? Leave Chile right now. Leave Chile. You are not... You're killing a lot of people. You're killing a lot of people. Leave here. Leave Chile right now. Leave Chile. Leave Chile. We don't want your world government. Leave Chile right now. Leave Chile, okay? Leave Chile. Your family is the most disgusting in the world, you know? Leave here. Leave. Leave. You also, you're a traitor to Chile. Mr. Agustin, you're a traitor to Chile, okay? You're a traitor to Chile. What you're doing right now, okay? 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 You know everything. You know everything. You're participating with him. You're participating with him in this. Your world government will fail, okay? It will fail! Your world government will fail! Will fail! Will fail! You know it! Leave Chile right now! We don't want you here! We don't want your disgusting thing here! Leave Chile now!
We just want to let you know the New World Order has no legitimacy, and that we as a people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banksters who are looting this economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well,
what do you, I mean, the Rothschilds family did start the Federal, you know, they divided Europe first, took over Europe, the Napoleon.
Don't exaggerate.